Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I hope the 2019 year is treating you well. 2018 was a year that I decided to read a whole bunch of books. So we have already talked about in the first episode, the worst shit that I had to read. The last episode was all the stuff that I read. Some better, some not so good. This is going to be the best of the best, the cream of the creme of all of the shit that I read this year, the ones that really, really stood out. Now this, there are some good books in here and some great books, and they're all just, they stuck with me for one reason or another, and they're all, spoiler alert, horror. Okay, so let's get started, and in no particular order. No, fuck that, in a particular order, because I stand by my list. Now I gotta figure out the order. Coming in this order, Sour Candy by Keelan Patrick Burke. This book, holy shit, let me tell you, there is not a wasted page in this book. This book is about a guy who went to go buy something for his girlfriend. All of a sudden there was a crying baby. He gave him some candy, and then fuck your life, you are ruined. And then it just goes bonkers, crazy shit from there. A little Lovecraftian, a little, what the fuck did I just read? All of it, phenomenal. This is the reason why I bought all these little books about his novella and stuff. I'm gonna read everything this man puts out. I cannot wait. This is so good. Ooh, I'm gonna read it right now, fuck you guys. Very, very good, and I love reading it because the chapter names, you're like, what? What could this be about? It's so good. It's also super short. Pick yourself up a copy. Read this book. Next up, we have the book that I finished the most recently. Like Halloween, I decided I wanted to read some Christmas books to get me in the mood for Christmas. And so what did I find? Hark the Herald Angels Scream, edited by Christopher Golden, and then a whole bunch of fucking people. Some people you might recognize, Josh Hallerman, Jonathan Mayberry, Kelly Armstrong, whole bunch of different books. This cover never actually happens in the book. It's a Blumhouse publishing book of a bunch of short stories. 90% of them are amazing. One of them I'm like, why the fuck is this in the book? And it all ends with like a full-on novella that is so gripping and engaging that I could not stop reading. I tried to spread it out and read just one of them a day, but there were a couple of days where I had to read more than one because I just really got into it. Now, what's funny is that most of the stories in here have to do with a relationship between usually a romantic one, like a husband and wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, father, son, mother, daughter, that kind of thing. The best ones are Christmas in Barcelona, Scott Smith, fuck yes, holy shit that ending. Yankee Swap by John McIlveen, that one felt the most Christmassy. It was very Saw, get knocked on the back of the head, wake up, and then Christmas shit goes on. I enjoyed that one probably the most. Honor Thy Mother was a really short one by Angela Slater that I really enjoyed, that I'd like to see a part 2 to. Hiking Through by Michael Cortia was also very good. Of course, the novella by Sarah Pinborough at the very end was very, very nice. This one was highly recommended. Next Christmas, or go ahead and pick up a copy of this now, read it for next Christmas, or if you still got a little itch into the Christmas spirit, it's amazing how horror and Christmas go together. Maybe it's all that having to be around your family. Ugh. Highly recommended. And because of this, I'm going to pick up some more Blumhouse Books original stuff because they seem to really know how to pick and choose their short stories. Coming in at the next number, boom, Hammers on Bone by Cassandra Cahaw? What do y'all think? Anyway, is a fucking great book about a monster detective sort of Lovecraftian noir thing about a kid who wants this guy to murder his dad because he thinks his dad is a monster. That's all I want to say. She has a sequel to this that I'm looking forward to reading. They're a little pricey, 11 bucks for 100 pages. That's what Tor does, but Hammers on Bone, they even reference, you'll know what that means. It's really good. I loved the detective and how you think he's a badass, but maybe he's not the most badass thing there is. Very highly recommended. Give it a read. A little spooky, a little cringy, highly recommended. Now, for the book with the best punch you in the gut ending in the way that Head Full of Ghosts did, if you're familiar with that book, we have Mapping the Interior, Stephen Graham Jones. This is by the same author who has a book in my worst books. Oh man, this, a kid's dad dies and he starts seeing his dad in the house. And then there might be something living under the house. And there's some dogs that attack. There's a thing at the end that's kind of a vision, I guess, that was a little wonky to read, but it got the point across. And the way the last 5 pages of this book hit me in the balls like you wouldn't believe, to the point I had to take a break. And I was like, I ain't reading shit for like 3 days. I can't move on to the next thing. I need to take a break. Like, remember when you watched Black Mirror and you're like, oh, I'm gonna binge watch season 3, and then Shut Up and Dance happened and you're like, maybe I need to take a break for the night. That's what this was. Not with the pedophile stuff, but man, emotionally raw, disturbing, creepy, and brilliant. You will not be unmoved. Paul Tremblay, he's the guy who wrote Head Full of Ghosts, so he knows what he's talking about. Mapping the interior. There is not a person alive. If you're into horror, that should not read this. It's not crazy horror, but it's... And the best thing that I got to read this year is Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. This cover alone, look at this goddamn cover. Beautiful. This is the paperback edition. This book is amazing. This book is what would happen if the Scooby-Doo kids came across something Lovecrafty that they couldn't explain, grew up, and were fucked up because of it. One of them goes crazy, one of them kills himself, the other one is a hard ass, and the other one just lives with the dog. It is a great little kind of a Scooby-Doo mystery. My problem with people who write Lovecraft books is that oftentimes they will reference something in Lovecraft and it sticks out like a sore thumb. You're like, Arkham Asylum. You're like, oh God, I get it. I know what you're doing. It didn't bother me in this one. There's a jailbreak sequence from Arkham in the very early parts of the book, and it's so ridiculous that I can't help but be like, okay. He also does a similar thing with the like smash cut too, almost like he's explaining it almost like it's a movie, and it really works in this. The ending, there are 2 climaxes in this book. There's one where they go underground and there's some shit that happens, and that's really, really tense. But that final crazy thing that happens in this is so good that I genuinely thought they were gonna die. I genuinely thought it. All the characters are really fun. They're really personable. They're funny and human. There's one running bit of the story that was not resolved for me, and I'm fucking annoyed that it wasn't. But I really want this gentleman, Mr. Cantero, to write a sequel to this, because it's left open for a sequel, because of course everything is these days. I really want that to be explored, and I will tell you, it has to do with, fuck it. There's a character in this book that has a ghost that talks to him, but we don't know if it's a ghost or if it's mental illness, and it's never explicitly said one way or the other, and I want fucking resolution to that. I don't need to be told everything, but I want resolution to that. At the aforementioned Arkham Asylum, there are a couple of characters that are there, and there is a character that goes off into his next book, This Body's Not Big Enough for the Both of Us, and I'm really looking forward to reading that as well. Mr. Cantero, you have a reader in me forever. It didn't feel too long. All the things that were tense were supposed to be tense. All the action was very clear and easy to understand, with a whole bunch of amorphous tentacle monsters that are attacking everything. It was still really easy to understand, and really, if I'm not so focused on what you're trying to explain, I can really dig into it and read what you are explaining. And man, if you decide you want to start reading horror books, this one's good because it starts with a really good premise, like it's the Scooby-Doo gang, but they're all grown up and crazy now. Highly recommended. Meddling Kids, Edgar Cantero. I'm gonna read this shit again. Who even knows? That's good. So ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. 2018 in the books. 2019 to the future. Right now I am reading a book called Who Wants to Be the Prince of Darkness? And it's about heaven and hell and fucking crazy. What I have learned over the past year in reading is that there are a couple of companies and publishing houses that I really want to pay attention to. I thought it was Tor. It is not Tor. They've been so hit and miss that it's not really worth it. Angry Robot is a publishing house that I'm really liking their stuff, and I feel like they do a really good job of explaining on the back of the box what everything is. I also really enjoyed the Blumhouse productions, so I'm really going to dig into them as well. It's going to be a good year for reading. There are a couple of books I'm hoping to get to once I'm done with that. I just kind of grabbed the next thing, you know? I got some Joe Hill stuff I want to read, some more Stephen King stuff I want to read, this Bruce Lee biography, some sci-fi, just a whole bunch of stuff. Look at this fucking thing. Gestapo Mars. It's, what the fuck? Really excited to kind of dig into this. It's going to be a good year for reading. If you are trying to read more, my recommendation to you, based on my subtle art of how to not give a fuck mindset, is just do it. Go read something. Read something, tell me about it. What'd you read? Tell me what you read. Tell me what you're going to read. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Billy. This has been the best stuff that I read this year. If you want to know all the other shit and all the shit that I had to read this year, go check out the other videos. Links in the description, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how to do that. Other than that, peace the fuck out. Have a great, happy new year. Here's to reading a whole bunch more. Peace out.